Welcome to the Four Fires Podcast, where we talk about winning in all four of the essential areas of life.
Welcome back to the Four Fires Podcast. If you enjoy listening to this podcast, please go down and leave us a 5-star rating and share this episode with a friend. It really helps us get all of this Four Fires content to more men so that we can accomplish our mission of building an army of four-dimensional men. Thanks so much. Live intentionally, and I hope you enjoy the show. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Four Fires Podcast. Today we're going to dig into a people fire conversation. Alan, I'm just going to pass it off to you. And so the topic is push-pull parenting. So give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so the idea is that parenting is a form of leadership, and you just happen to be parenting a young human that's moving into an adolescent human that then moves into an adult human. And the way that you lead that person needs to shift and change over time. So I call these two different parenting styles push parenting and pull parenting. The idea of push parenting is when you are imposing rules, systems, and structure onto a child to get them to behave in a certain way. It's completely appropriate for teaching children social norms. In fact, I think you actually do your child a disservice by not teaching them the social customs and cues that make them appealing to the generation above them. So, for example, you set your child up for failure if the generation above them does not want to interact with them. One of the things that I think that teaching your child to say sir and ma'am and show respect for the older generation does is it makes them attractive, it makes them acceptable, it makes them desired by the generation above them. And guess what the generation above them has? Power, authority, and opportunity. And so they will open doors for your children if you will teach them to be respectful. Push parenting is really important. There's a season when you need to be very intentional about teaching your children what is acceptable behavior and what is unacceptable behavior. Okay, so but if you stay in that, if you only have one gear and it's push parenting, it starts getting really awkward in those teenage years. And let me give you an example. I have a client, and he has a son who's in his mid-30s, and the dad's in his late 60s, and he was making some comments about his son and what his son, the car that his son bought and his son shouldn't have bought, and how his son spends money. And it was really, I actually had to stop the conversation and say, hey, repeat those same lines that you just said about your son. Say them to me. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, just repeat what you just said to your son.
Like you're saying it to me.
Like you're saying it to me. And his son was in the room. And I forced him to say to me what he had just said to his son. And I said, does that feel awkward to tell me,
Another grown man,
you shouldn't drive this car. You shouldn't spend your money on your house like this. You shouldn't have put a pool in your backyard.
Yeah.
Like, does that feel awkward? He's like, maybe a little bit.
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
It should feel awkward, and you should never tell me those things because I'm a grown man who gets to make those decisions.
And his son was a grown man.
His son is old enough to be president of the United States, right? Like, but he had never pivoted away from push parenting. He had only ever thought about influencing his son through this push model of parenting. And so one of the things that I think is very helpful for us to think about as we're raising children is there's a moment, usually around 11, 12, 13, that we need to introduce this idea to our children that our parenting style is going to change. And we need to tell them that our parenting style is going to change. So, for instance, I recently had a conversation with my daughter. She's 14 now. I think we had this conversation when she was just before she turned 13. She was 12. And I told her, I said, hey, look, right now, I help you think about what is a healthy diet, what you should eat. I help you think about what is a healthy curfew. These are systems and structures I'm helping to put in place for you.
To teach you acceptable behavior.
That's right. But when you're 18 years old and you walk in this house, guess what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to tell you what to eat because that's inappropriate. I'm not going to tell you to go brush your teeth because that's inappropriate. At some point, I don't even get to tell you what time you come home. And what I want her to know is that there is going to be a shift. I will not always be the person in her life who tells her what to do. And what I need for her to do is for me and her at the same time to prepare for this shift into pull parenting. Pull parenting is where the child recognizes that the parent has some wisdom, but asks for it and pulls it from the parent rather than the parent imposing it upon the child. There needs to be that moment where I sought after wisdom from my dad until the day he died. I was in my 40s and I was still asking him questions. But he was not telling me how to live my life.
Yeah.
And what we lose as parents, if we fail to make the pivot from push to pull, is a healthy adult to adult relationship. Our children will never want to engage with us as a healthy adult to adult if they feel like we're going to consistently treat them like a child and push and impose. So, one, just be aware that there are those two different styles of parenting. It feel, like it's awkward.
Yeah.
Don't be the person who your child gets into their 30s and you talk to them like they're, like they didn't eat their peas. And then also, when they reach those teenage years, communicate to them that you're aware that your style and your role in their life is going to change.
Yeah.
And help them to get to the point where they're going to see, I have to be pretty serious about my own life. I have to be pretty serious about my own standards, but that my parent will always be there for me to seek out wisdom from. There may even need to be a moment when you name it and say, you're 18 now, or you're whatever, pick your age. This is the point at which we're pivoting.
You just thought about the the hero and the guide language. Like, it's like your child is like, you're empowering them. It's like, it's your turn to go be a hero in your story.
Some of the best parents that I know are very clear that...
Hey guys, it's Jeff. Thanks for watching this episode of the Four Fires podcast. If you're interested in becoming more four-dimensional, the best way, hands down, for you to do that is to start a Four Fires small group. Real life change always happens when we build authentic community and we're challenging each other, just like the Bible says, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. If you want encouragement, if you want accountability, if you want deeper friendships with some men in your life, a Four Fires small group is your next step. Visit our website to see more information, watch the Session 1 video to see if it really resonates with you and if it's something that you want to lead a group of men through. Fill out the application, and I would love to talk with you and provide you and the men in your group with all of the resources and the tools that you need to be equipped and empowered to start this small group and to become the four-dimensional man that God created you to be. I look forward to hearing from you, and until then, let's get back to the episode.
Some of the best parents that I know are very clear that their child is not a representation of whether they're a good human on the planet or not. It's not if their child,
the parent is a good,
if the parent is good, the performance of the child is not the thing that determines the value of the parent. Some of the best parents I know use the language and have the mentality of, I am the steward of this child. They are their own human and they are on their own path. And it is my job to steward them, to usher them, to walk with them for a season. And then it's their choice. Like, they get to choose the life that they want to live.
Yeah.
And so Yeah, it's a tricky thing to get our heads around. The people fire, one of the tricks of the people fire, we say, is that you can have influence, but you don't have control. Rarely can you win in the people fire through dominance. Most of the time you win through kind of the softer submission in those spaces. So, yeah, there's an awareness of those two different styles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How do I remind myself to make that shift? And then you threw out the age, and I don't know, the age probably isn't perfect. It might vary, but you said 12 to 13.
Mm-hmm.
But sitting down and having the one-on-one conversation with your kid and tell them, hey, I'm going to start changing the way that I parent you. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
It makes me think about, like, that's clear,
Mm-hmm.
and clarity is kindness.
And I forget, like when you're a child, you think that that tomorrow is always going to be like it was today. But as an adult, we have the ability to look and see seasons of life and understand it's not always going to be like this. And, but to name for my daughter that there was a season where I was not going to tell her what to do, like her eyes got
So you've
real.
already had this
Oh
conversation.
yeah. I mean, we had this conversation. I told her, I was like, I am not going to be the person who tells you.
Mm-hmm.
And I used the example of my mom. I said, wouldn't it feel strange if your grandmother, my mother, came over and told me what financial decisions to make, what nutrition decisions to make, what parenting decisions to make? She said, yeah, that would be weird. I was like, yeah, that's because that's not how adults interface with each other. And you are on a path to adulthood, and there will be a day when I will treat you like an adult and not like a child. For right now, you are a child, and it is my job. I would be delinquent to give you adult level decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Here, pick which alcohol brand you would like to drink tonight. Like, I'm not getting, that's not.
Well, that was going to be my next question, was how do you make sure that when you make that shift to the pull parenting, that you're not going into like weak mode. Where you're like, oh, now I don't have to do anything because they're in the pool, so I don't even have to try. And if they don't ask, then I don't care what they do. How do you?
Yeah. It's probably a lily pad. You got one foot on one lily pad, and then you slowly are shifting over. You're releasing the clutch.
Right.
But it's the slow transition from one to the other. But yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Like, all of the time is still being spent with you and Ada.
Yeah.
You're just being more intentional about how much you might be, like, the correcting and the speaking into.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're just, all right, here's the keys, here's some money, here's whatever. Go,
yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah, there's a leadership model called situational leadership. And the model talks about the different leadership styles based on the different motivation and ability levels of the follower. So when you have someone who has low ability and low motivation, for example, a child who does not want to brush their teeth, nor do they know how to brush their teeth very well, it's completely appropriate for the parent to go in there and physically grab the toothbrush and brush their child's teeth.
This is how you do it.
This is how you do it. And I'm going to do it. I'm not even going to just tell you how to do it. I'm actually going to do it for you. Open your mouth.
Smile.
Yeah. And that's called directive leadership style. I mean, I am not just telling you how to do it. I'm doing it with you. That's when motivation is low and ability is low. But the opposite of that, when motivation is high and ability is high, it would be awkward for me for my daughter's on my daughter's prom night, for me to go in there and physically grab her toothbrush and be brushing her teeth. Like, she is both motivated to have clean teeth and clean breath, and she knows how.
Directive is the low ability, low motivation leadership. And high ability, high motivation is
you just delegate.
Thank you for tuning in to the Four Fires podcast. I want to take just a second to let you know about one of the resources that the Four Fires tribe offers to help you take control of your life, take ownership, and build some authentic community to become more four-dimensional. It's called the 30-Day Ruck. It's a 30-day challenge to live four-dimensionally. You commit to weekly tasks, abstaining from a few things, and having a Zoom call with your facilitator That's me, and the other men that are going through the ruck with you. It's a great way to encourage each other, meet some new guys that are trying to live four-dimensionally, and really hold ourselves accountable and commit to something and then keep our commitment to ourselves, to becoming a four-dimensional man. Visit our website, fourfires.com, to see more about the 30-day ruck and how you can sign up and reserve your spot today. Thanks, and let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, you just hand it to them, which kind of mirrors the push and the pull. If she ever needed to know how to brush her teeth better, she could ask me. But
So just because I'm curious, what are the other, like, high motivation, low ability?
yeah, so you get into supporting and coaching. When you have somebody who is high ability, low motivation, then you're in more of the supporting space. When they're high motivation but low ability, then you coach them on how to do it better. They're just different leadership styles that you use throughout the evolution of employees' growth within an organization. You can kind of use that as a framework for thinking about parenting, but I kind of like
The
just
directive and the delegation is the push to pull.
push and pull just is pretty simplistic. It's easy to remember. You push rules, standards, systems, and structures onto a child, and it's appropriate, and it should be done.
Yeah. Turns out what's good for business is good for life.
What's good for business is good for life. That's pretty good. Hopefully, you've done enough work in their early years to give them a framework, and then they just need clarifying questions.
Yeah. I feel like that would be a very enjoyable thing. I'm not a father yet, but a very enjoyable thing. That's probably emotional when you make that shift, because it's like a change, and it's probably emotional, but it's probably also very fun if you know that you've done a phenomenal job on the pushing and preparing your child to launch. I could see how if you do a really good job, that could actually be really exciting.
Sure.
When you have the attitude of, this is a child that God has entrusted me with, and my job is to help them become the man or the woman that God created them to be. So it could be an exciting thing where it's like, you're so close. It's like 3, 2. You're about to go launch, and you're gonna do so good. So I can see how you could turn it into a exciting thing rather than a, I'm so sad that my little boy is all grown up.
Oh yeah, yeah. One of the things that we talk about is don't try not to be sad about the best possible outcome. There's scenarios in life that are the natural and best possible outcome. Our child graduating high school and going off into the world is the best possible. It is what we would hope for.
Right.
And there are times when that too is sad, right? Like you lose a parent that was a wonderful, amazing parent that lived a long life, and that is the best possible outcome that you could have.
Right.
It's still sad. But try not to stay there too long. Try to recognize that this is actually
praiseworthy.
This is the best. Yeah. This is the best we can hope for. And so, yeah, parenting is a ton of fun. It's tricky. Those humans, they're tricky little critters.
I'm a sponge. I'm taking it all.
Yeah.
Filling up the Rolodex.
And, all you can do is the next right thing. You just try to be wise, seek wise counsel. Don't be the parent that's a push parent up until their 20s or 30s.
Yeah.
That's bad. That's a recipe for resentment right there.
Well, so there you have it. There's the push-pull parenting explained. So I hope that helps you in your people fire. And until next time, remember to live intentionally, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Four Fires Podcast.